firstly, I just wanted to cover off a bit on what is social proof, because it's sort of a term that not many people know about, and sort of when we mention it to some people, they can get a little bit confused. So essentially, social proof is a psychological and social phenomenon where people copy the actions of others to undertake similar behaviors to others. So essentially, it's all around people wanting to fit in to the mold of people, and wanting to sort of see what others are doing, and therefore going ahead and acting themselves and doing similar things online through shopping. And the sort of quote was coined by a guy called Robert Cialdini, who was a psychologist, and essentially he says we view a behaviour as more correct in a given situation to the degree that we see others performing it. So essentially, it's all around that kind of seeing what others are doing and wants to do it ourselves. So that's what we're tackling with social proof in Fresh Relevance. Any questions on that? Sort of any ideas as well?
Yeah, I feel like Daisy Gray kind of followed the social proof when we all cut off our cameras, and then she cut off hers.
Yeah,
that was. I don't know if that's actually what happened, but
yeah, I mean it can happen like that, sort of where people want to follow along with everyone else, and that can often happen with your sort of with online and your online sort of shops as well. So it's sort of really important that we sort of have to look into this and see what's happening.
Yeah, I think that's
Daisy?
a good way to talk about it. If you think about sort of take e-commerce out of the equation and we think about, old school shopping, going into a store, social proof is really powerful there. Think how you feel when there's only a couple of items on a shelf. Instantly you're looking over and you're like, oh, do I need that before I don't have that option anymore? Similarly, we can do things like popularity. When you see people crowding around products, you see a lot of people looking at things and instantly you're like, obviously they're seeing something good. I want to know. I mean, I guess for you Americans on the call, it might not make the same make as much sense, but I've stood in queues before just because there's a queue. I have no idea what I'm queuing for, but the idea that other people are queuing for something is enough to interest me. So, the things that social proof is something we don't even notice in everyday life, and being able to mimic that in a digital e-commerce or even if we're talking about print. So, in terms of Michael, for you, popularity of who's reading articles equally is sort of that social mechanism as well.
I knew I could rely on my resident psych person in the team.
I'm a psychology graduate. I love this stuff.
Exactly. So another thing just sort of note in here is what we can do in Fresh Relevance as well within social proof. So part of the module and everything you get access to. So firstly, we have ratings and reviews. So we integrate with 6 different ratings and reviews providers within Fresh Relevance. There's a list on the website which I can send around. So off the top of my head, there's Trustpilot, reviews.io, Review, I think, and that's all the ones off the top of my head. But we can pass through that messaging to let your customers know exactly what your products are about, and make sure the popular products are showed their reviews. So you can see up here that one has 4 stars with 61 reviews, all there being shown. We also have scarcity messaging for all of the products that are available. So letting your products know the stock levels of the products. So if they're lower in stock, we can make sure they know about it. And then also the popularity messaging. So how many people are buying it, how many people are looking at it, how many people have got it in their cart and are about to buy the products. Those are really powerful tactics that people can deploy. And finally, we also have social media. So we can also have social media smart blocks that we can make in Fresh Relevance and sort of highlight different things that people are saying. And we can show social media posts from your account with different hashtags in there as well. Some really cool stuff that's available to you in Fresh Relevance. So one thing I just wanted to show you is some different examples of things that we've sort of seen that are really powerful. So first of all, we've got some popularity messaging. So we can make certain products really stand out on your product list pages. So as you can see here, we've only got it on a couple of products. And I think this is really important. We don't really want to show social proof in absolutely everything, because then it sort of loses its power and its sort of oomph. So we can only show it here on 2 products because those are the 2 that have recently sold. And it really makes those 2 stand out to someone viewing on the page. We then have some urgency messaging that we can do, so we can drive your customers to make a purchase. So as you can see here, we've got some really, really nice messaging here. It's really, really it's subtle, but it's also very noticeable with the word quick highlighted there. So we can sort of shout about 109 have added to the basket in the last couple of days and make sure that people want to go ahead and make the purchase and go and drive the conversion. Next up, we have some stop level messaging. And this is really, really sort of subtle as well in an email. However, it's sort of giving the fear of a customer not wanting to miss out. So there's less than 100 left. So make sure that someone goes ahead and wants to make a purchase because they're worried that it's going to be out of stock very soon. So another really, really powerful thing we can do in Fresh. And then lastly, ratings reviews. So we can shout about why your customers absolutely love you. So we can also add in all of these star ratings in general. We can highlight star ratings on products. And we can also start to refine the reviews and maybe look at some keywords that we want to show to customers, or we maybe want to exclude some certain words that we don't really want in there. For example, we have some medical providers and they can't have certain words in there. So we can exclude those from the reviews that are shown on site. So a lot of really, really cool use case that we can achieve in Fresh Relevance through social proof. Anyone have any ideas or anything we sort of covered? Anything really standing out to anyone that we might want to cover? No. Daisy, anything you want to add to that?
No, those were all really great ideas, Will. Yeah, really love those. I think the ratings and reviews one that you've got on screen now is really underused, because one of the things we can do in Fresh that a lot of rating providers can't do is we can actually search on keywords and only display reviews for a certain topic. And that makes them really great for sort of abandonment emails or any time you're dealing with perhaps common objections, rather than you having to reassure customers that, you know, particularly when we get up to Christmas, if it's going to be like last year and everything's delayed, reassuring customers that their products will arrive in time by showcasing reviews talking about quick and effective delivery. It heads off any barriers before they're even there. So that's a really nice tactic that you can use ratings and reviews for, as well as just talking about why everyone loves you as they do.
Yeah, great. So now I'm going to hop into the platform and just show how we can start to implement some social proof messaging. And with the new smart block flow, it's so easy to do it. So I'm just going to go ahead and close this. Does anyone need me to zoom in at all, or is that sort of big enough?
Looks good.
Looks good. Cool. So something I like to start off with all the time when I'm doing a demo in the platform. We have a few things I like to signpost people to. So first of all, the question mark up in the top left corner. It will highlight the page you're on and give you some great relevant documentation, as well as a link to the tactics library, which is a great place to sort of start and look at some tactics you might want to implement. It will give you some how-to articles on exactly how you go ahead and do that. So for example, if you want to go ahead and implement this tactic, what I can do is click on the article and it will give you the how-to on how to do it. It's a pretty brilliant little thing that we've got right there for everyone to use. We also have our videos here, so it will be different for every single page you're on, but what we'll do is we'll show you a how-to video on exactly what you need to do different things in the platform. Really easy to follow and nice and simple for anyone sort of unfamiliar with a certain area. And finally, we have the support contact details, anything at all that you might need to shout about, any sort of trips that you might come into, anything you're not really 100% sure of, go ahead and reach out to support and they'll get back to you as soon as they can. Cool. So I'm going to have a look into one of our smart blocks, but I made it earlier. I've not done anything to it, but essentially what I'm going to do is look at how we can add some social proof messaging to it, as well as how we can add some ratings and reviews to it. So it's not saved. So I'm just going to go ahead and create a new one then. So if I create a smart block here, and I'm going to use the new version up here. Very soon this will be a case of this is the new way to make smart blocks. It will be the main way to make smart blocks. So essentially, it's something that's really, really good to get used to, but it's so easy to use. And if anyone's used the older version, they'll know that sometimes it's a little bit of a pain point using it, but now using this new version is so much more simple for everyone to use. So on this one, I'm going to create it for my website, and I think I'm going to go for something on my homepage. So it's a really, really nice overview of products. I'm going to show my popular products, my best sellers, the ones that go the most. And then I'm going to go ahead and choose the layout that I want to use. So I'm going to use this multi-column here. And then I'm just going to give it a name. And then I'm going to save. And then here we go, that's the smart block made. So essentially what I'm going to do now is I want to look down on the design tab at the ratings bit and also the social proof messaging bit. So we can toggle them off and on. So toggle it off, it will stop showing it, and we can toggle them back on and it'll show the ratings again. And what we can do is we can start to change a couple of things about with the ratings. So for example, we can choose the color about. So something that we could maybe look into is what the most effective color is, for example, of this. So for example, if you may want to go with a light blue, we can go with that. We can change the color to be that nice light blue. It depends what you guys go for, so you may want to stand out a tiny bit more. So really, really simple on the rating side of things, but where I'm going to cover most in the design side of things is the social proof messaging. So what I can do is I can look at the purchase data, the cart data, and the browse data. So you can see all of it here. It standardly says purchase today, cart today, or browse today. I'm going to have a little chat about some of the sort of ways we can change the messaging to make it a little bit different and maybe a little bit more urgent for them. One that I really, really love is for purchase is have gone. It's sort of a lot more snappy and it gives us a lot more kind of urgency towards that. I then like to have a going on the carted one. So someone's about to buy it, they're in their cart and they're about to put their payment details in and they're about to go. And finally, for browse, I'm going to go for are looking. So again, we're not lying with any of them. It's really, really key that we're not, but at the same time, it adds a bit more urgency to what your customers want to do. Next up, we have all these thresholds here that we can start to look at where we want to have the lines drawn. Right now, all the products on the page have the social proof messaging on, and I don't really want to have that. I want to have it so that only one or two maybe have the social proof messaging on. So I'm going to increase this threshold up to 62, for example, just so that this one product will have it. And then this one, I'm going to increase it maybe to 80. And then the last one, I'm going to have at 230, for example. And there we can see only one of these products on here have the social proof messaging shown. And I think that makes it really stand out and makes people want to go ahead and buy it more. So it's really, really important we look at that. Is there any sort of ideas on that? Anything that anyone wants to sort of chat about? Any ideas on anything?
Do you guys have any data on how effective this is and how much it increases clicks, adds to cart, purchases?
I'm pretty sure we have a case study somewhere that I can sort of send around to you. Daisy might have a bit more intel on that.
Yeah, we're still getting the exact numbers through. So I'm working with another customer at the moment and they're using scarcity messaging. So they're showing it on product pages as to whether there's, I think it's less than 10 in stock. And I think we're already seeing a 20% increase in conversions for that group. So it seems very, very powerful when we are using it. But yeah, we're still in the midst of collecting the data to obviously we like to know things are stable over time. So yeah, we're keeping an eye on that. But I imagine that we would probably see something slightly different with popularity messaging because it's a different motivator. But that's definitely something you can test, and will perhaps when we get to the slot section, you can just show Kristen how easy that is to do.
Yeah, definitely. Also, just note yourself down, just so when that stuff's ready, we're ready to share all of the details of that. We make sure we try and send that out to you.
Thank you.
The only other thing I think worth mentioning was what we were talking about this morning, Will, with getting creative with these as well. So whilst there's some sort of more generic wording on screen, think about what makes sense for your customers. So Michael, in terms of you, it's people reading. So could, you know, for people who have got that purchase threshold, perhaps that's more, you know, 100 readers are loving this right now. So how can you play into the emotion of your customers and making it relevant for what they're looking at as well? I think social proof, you know, it is going to be more and more common. I think I'm even seeing it on Google Shopping now, as of sort of the last couple of weeks. So yeah, the more creative you can get and the more sort of you can replicate your brand's tone of voice in this as well, I think that'd be onto a winner.
Definitely, yeah. We were just chatting this morning about a pet company and having it around sort of the pet lovers. But yeah, definitely something to consider when you think about your own customers, sort of what will tug on their heartstrings a bit and make them want to purchase through the messaging. So yeah, definitely something to consider. So what I can now do is I can maybe only want to show certain products that have a certain star rating, for example. So what I can do is go to the filtering tab, and what I can do is if the I think might be wrong. I'm pretty sure it's the product, and if the rating number is greater than or equal to 4, then we'll show all of the products in there. So we make sure we only have at least 4-star products showing in the smart block. So that's a really, really nice way to make sure that we're showing the higher sort of higher products that have got a lot more sort of well-rounded and higher reviews. We can also add it so that we have a certain amount of reviews on each product, so that we have a lot of sort of more crowd kind of data and a lot more ratings behind it. Sometimes we can see one rating and it's 1 star, you're maybe not sure that it's that exact one, and maybe someone just had a good experience. Equally, when there's only 1 or 2 ratings and they're quite low, so maybe just one person had a bad experience, they didn't know how to use the product. So sort of adding in a certain amount of ratings to it as well could be really useful. We do that again in the filtering tab, dragging in the product field again to the right-hand side of the tree, and then we can go ahead and put the review count, so that the review count is maybe greater than 10, for example. And then, as you can see, we'll only have ratings in there that are more than 10. So really, really simple on how we can do that. On the sort of rating side of things, there anything else that people may want to cover on it? Any ideas again on it?
When it comes to implementing them, is there a set number of review providers you currently cover?
Yeah, let me just have a look on the website for you real quick, and I just let you know the exact number. There are 6 that we currently integrate with. I can very, very quickly just show you.
There are also options for us to scrape that data off the site. It's obviously not as reliable as an integration, so there might be sort of a recency delay, for example. But yeah, product data, or at least star ratings, we'd be able to lift off sites, if not the individual reviews. So there are still some things we can work around, even if one of your reviews aren't these. And I think we're also working on a piece that will allow you to import. So let's say that your current provider gives an export function, then we can link them up that way. So that's something we could have a look at if your provider isn't on screen.
Yeah, my only one was because travel company, obviously TripAdvisor, which isn't on there currently. But we also use Trustpilot, we also use other stuff, so there is other ones we can implement, but I just wanted to double check.
That's a really good shout, actually. So yeah, let us escalate that one to the dev team for you, Laura. I wouldn't expect it to be any time sort of in the imminent future, but hopefully sort of in the next 3 to 6 months, it's something we could look at.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was making a note of that. Anything else anyone wants to ask? Any questions? Not anything to add, Daisy, do you think?
Not really. Yeah, it's just thinking about what you want to do. Oh, there is one comment actually on social proof, and it's just that depending on the tactic of your recommendations, you might need to consider different thresholds. So, for example, if you're picking a data source of popular products, so the products that have been most purchased, then you can imagine that you might need to increase your threshold to have some dynamism in terms of when are we showing purchase data, and also what time frame you're looking over. So depending on quite the volume of traffic you have to the site and your volume of purchases, we can look back sort of, a day if you've got high traffic, or if it's something a bit slower, you could look back over the last week. So finding the right time period and thresholds can be a bit of sort of trial and improvement. But if anyone's got the automatic optimization modules and components, then it's something we can just stick into the mystery machine, and it'll work out what's best for you, which is amazing.
Nice. Yeah, so we can really easily change that on the time period here. So maybe people want to change it so it's a little bit more broad. So maybe we want to go for 3 days. And here we can see that it's gone up. So as you can see, we can maybe change the thresholds and you can find that exactly the right balance. And as Daisy said, with the advanced testing optimization module, you can maybe test it automatically without you having to do any extra heavy lifting. We can just sort of test, and we can build all of the different options through multiple smart blocks, and then we can have the system do all of the testing for you. In a couple of weeks, we have a session on advanced testing optimization, a fresh focus session, 31st of August, so feel free to go and check that out and come along to find out a bit more about testing optimization within Fresh Relevance. Cool. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to save this smart block. This is a nice sort of example. Oh, Michael, do you have any questions?
Oh, just wondering, how would you, let's say, if you want to test different kind of like blocks for let's say if you want to just do some like A to B tests, let's say you can test one block for certain time and then a different block for another time, just to like make a comparison which one would be more effective. How would you
how do I do that? It's cool. Yeah, so what we can do is after this, we're going to go ahead and save the smart block and then put it into a slot. So I don't know if you know what the difference is, but just in case anyone doesn't,
okay,
we've got a smart block, which is this, what we're doing right now, which essentially is a piece of content in Fresh Relevance. And then we put that inside of a slot, so we can then start to personalize based on different people. But then we can also test, so we can have maybe this one smart block, and we'll make another one, and we can change up maybe a couple of things that we want to test. So for example, what we could do is we could maybe change that so we have the time period over maybe 2 days on the other smart block, and we can do that in the next stage of the slot, and we can run an A/B test nice and simply and do that. If I go to the next screen, I can show you exactly what we're doing on that.
okay.
So, yeah.
So would it show like the data and like the like interaction of the?
Yeah, so we got the optimized sensors, you can see on the left hand side here with the little test tube, and then we have all the results of your A/B tests that we housed in there. So yeah, that's all available for you.
Okay.
And A/B testing comes out of the box, so you don't need any additional modules at all to do A/B testing as well in Fresh Relevance.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
No worries. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to save and use the smart block, and then this one's a website smart block, so it's going to go into a web slot, and then I'm just going to go on continue. Once that's loaded, there we go. This is the setup for the slot. So essentially, this is the bit that the smart block is housed inside. It's kind of like a virtual picture frame. So we're putting the smart block, which is our picture, inside the picture frame now. I'm just going to show it to everyone on this occasion, and that is all I need to do on it. And then I can press save. So if I go to the rules tab up in the top left-hand corner, what I can do is I can start to look at different things such as testing, or we can add in some rules to show different things to different people. So as you can see, here is that smart block that I just made down here inside of the slot. And what I could do, for example, is if I want to add a different smart block to test it, I can find another one that I may have made earlier, or you can make another one right now if you wanted to. So for example, I've got this one just here, and what I could do is I could drag it over this one, and then it will automatically start a test. If I click on this thing up here, it'll bring up this option on the left, and we can do an A/B split test just here. So we've got the option to toggle this about, so we're currently automatically testing on 50/50. But if you find maybe that this option is a little bit more effective, we can maybe push this up to 75%, and that's all there for you and available to use. What we can also do is if I click on the reporting here, we can then have a look at exactly how it's performing. So I just press save. I can then click on the report. Obviously, there won't be any data for this right now, but what we have here is all of the different reports that we can run and all the metrics that we can see. So we can sort of compare the two and see how each of them are performing. So for example, we have the on-site average order value, for example, and maybe if the one's higher, then that's going to be a winner. So really, really simple to do.
Yeah, I think it's just worth noting at this point for anyone who has been in this area before that we've made some changes to the reports available. So in that drop down that we was just demonstrating, there's a few different sort of categories there. So we've got, if I go from bottom to top, when we've got on-site purchase data and then off-site, that's looking at click rates and looking at on-site being web clicks, off-site being email clicks. Now, what's new is all of those optimization ones, and the data works in a different way here. We're actually looking at whether content has been seen rather than whether it's been specifically interacted with. So, Kristen, I guess to just go back to your initial question in terms of what increase might we see, sometimes if you're using social proof in terms of the labels that we'll all show next, then those optimization stats are the ones that you're going to be most interested in rather than click rate, because we don't anticipate people will click on the messaging itself, but the product image, for example. So just worth knowing that it's, I guess, long story short, the ones starting with optimization are probably the ones you're going to want to be using for social proof specifically.
Thanks for that one. Any other questions from anyone on any of the sort of testing things and the Optimize Center? No. Cool. So back into the slot. So what we've currently got is that test set up. We also have the option, again, a multi-arm bandit. So essentially, we have the option here to automatically do all this. This comes as part of the advanced testing and optimization module, which is something that's additional. So you would have to purchase it as part of your sort of deal with Fresh Relevance. But essentially, what we can do is we can automatically test to a certain field. So for example, average order value. So what this will do is start off an A/B test that's the system's automatically starting, and it will start to test both and see what is performing best to this goal here. Really, really cool things that are available to do in the advanced testing optimization module. I absolutely love it. So there's that. Daisy, you mentioned the thing around labels and what you want to do on that in the slot. Just explain a little bit more for me.
So far we've looked at recommendations and adding social proof messaging in there, but that's not the only place that we can use it in Fresh Relevance. So you can actually overlay the messaging on particular pages. So the example that I was speaking about earlier with that scarcity messaging, that was just a little banner that oversits on the product pages. So social proof doesn't just have to be used in the recommendations. So, well, if you go to recommendations and create a smart block, it isn't only in the old flow right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, perfect. So we've only got two little layouts here, but we can obviously create custom looks and feels just like with any of our other templates. So you can reach out to our services team. but essentially you'll just need to put a product ID in that preview, Will, and then it'll appear. So essentially this would sit on, let's say, your product page, and the our script would pass through the product ID, and then we can show, in this case, 74 people have recently bought that product. At the top of it, you'll see the UI options as sort of similar to what we were looking at before, but you'll notice the thresholds aren't there, and they're in the code. So at this point, I'd say if this is something you want to look at, then just let us know and we can help you to edit that code. It's fairly self-explanatory at the top, but I appreciate that not everyone's as comfortable with code, so that's something that Will and I can just tweak for you if this is something you do want to get going with.
Nice, yeah. Honestly, I totally forgot this was a thing, but yeah, I remember being mentioned that it's going to be something new in the new smart block flow, which is probably where I'll be able to pick it up again. But yeah, it's really, really simple stuff and really, really effective on those product pages to show different customers different things. So yeah, really, really cool. Also
on list pages, they can be really effective. I mean, you can almost consider a list page a very long list of recommendations, so it can go in that way. I've seen some really nice examples. I think John Lewis does it really nicely, where they're animated, so they kind of come in and slot over your product page. So we can do all sorts of sort of dynamic looks and feels as well through our services packages. So yes, definitely some really interesting and eye-catching approaches as well. Just makes things stand out a bit more. I think I read a paper actually recently. I think it was, well, I'll have to remember who it was that wrote it now. But they're behavioural marketers, and they were doing an eye tracking piece, and they found that products with sort of social proof or products that stood out because they were GIF-based images or anything that makes it stand out generally increases that product's conversions. So you can also use it tactfully. So if you go to the filtering tab, Will, you can actually add filters on, like recommendations in here as well. So if there's certain product IDs that you wanted to get data for, so maybe you've just got a promotion, a header banner on your front page, and maybe you just want to show it for one particular product. So yeah, there's lots of scope of what you can do if you've got any more advanced requirements as well, which is really nice.
Awesome. Yeah, really, really cool stuff. Any questions on this sort of side of social proof where we can sort of add it more generally to a product page or a list page?
And all of that's usable on email in the same way, so you can just list the product that it's for and just drop the social proof block into an email.
Yep, absolutely. Also, if you have triggered emails, we can add them into cart layouts, which again makes those campaigns even more effective as well. Honestly, I would add it to every single touch point where you're talking about products. And yeah, just optimizing it, I think, is my main advice, because when we're talking about different thresholds and things like that, it can get into sort of nitty-gritties really quickly. So being able to maybe just set up a few different options and letting our system work out what's best, and just takes all of that A, thinking work, and B, maintenance of the test out of it for you. And of course, we can help you with sort of finding a baseline if you just want to get something up and running as sort of a first stab. And then we can look to optimize it afterwards as well. So yeah, we don't have to jump in with both feet straight away.
Wicked, yeah. So anything else to cover on this one? Any other questions for anyone?
I've got a question, but for everyone on the call rather than you, Will.
Nice.
Just wondering, out of what we've spoken about today, what bit of social proof interests you most? Is it adding it to recommendations with messaging, or is it the review side of it? What's most exciting?
I'm quite interested in the scarcity bit. Probably because for us it's Christmas and Black Friday is coming up soon. So I think we'll be thinking about different tactics that we'll probably use to get conversion.
Fab, yeah, the
Yeah.
scarcity messaging is excellent. There is a caveat that we should make you aware, though, just in that
Yeah.
we'll need to know stock levels in Fresh Relevance. So that's something that we can take a look at for you, Michael. Just noting it down. So yeah, we'll take a look whether we hold that data, and then if not, we can have a discussion about how we get it in, whether there's something we can pick up from your site or whether we need to look at importing some stock data.
Okay. Yeah. At the moment it's a bit difficult in some way because my manager, I'm not sure if you knew Lucy Taylor. So basically she's because I only started like 2 weeks ago, and she's gone to maternity leave now.
Yes.
So I'm still trying to put everything together, and just because that she went to maternity too soon, I'm still, what's the word, absorbing information. So I'm in
Yeah,
that stage. So
absolutely.
there's a lot of stuff that I'm a little bit, I'm questioning a little bit in my head. So it's yeah.
Fab. Well, as a first step, let's just have a look at what you've got at the moment that we can work with, and then we can at least let you know whether it's something that's a sooner or later thing.
Okay.
And then, yeah, if all the data's there, then we'll help you get it set up. If it's not, then at least we can advise you what steps would need to be taken, and then you can see if the resource aligns.
Okay. I'm guessing this is based on is it credit that we use, or wait, or is that a different?
Yeah, so there's the 3 levels we can look at: the purchase, carted, and browse, so the view data. I will just need to double check for you how we flag different things. Last time I looked, I think that we considered people in sort of a cart group if they had a certain scroll depth almost. I think
Okay.
that's how we judged it. But yeah, let me take that one away for you as well.
Okay, that's great. Thank you.
No worries.
Awesome. Yeah, I was thinking, Michael, maybe the new starter course that we've got that might be useful for you.
So, sorry.
We've got a new starter course that's available.
Oh,
that
yeah,
might
yeah,
be really,
yeah.
really useful for you. I can send that over to you as well after the session.
Yes, please. That sounds great. Thank you.
Cool. No, that one. All right. So I just want to cover one last thing, which is how we can sort of get some bulk reviews as well available to us. So I'm just going to go back onto our Smart Blocks page, and then we go into the reviews part and show you how we can start to look at different things. Yes, of course, Alison, I'll make a note of that as well. Anyone else want the new starter course? No. Cool. Yep, Nick. Cool. I'll make sure that I've sent that one to you. It will probably be in a separate email to the one that you receive after the session. So I'll just send you an email from my own inbox. But yeah, I'll get that sent out to you hopefully by the end of tomorrow. That's good. Cool. So what I can do here is I can start to do different things. So I'm going to just use this reviews with meters here on the Smart Block page. Computer's been a little bit slow. There we go. Cool. So what I can do here is I can look at, first of all of these reviews coming in. So we can see the rating out of 5 and then also the reviews. So we can see here that all of these have come through. And then what I can do is on the filtering tab, I can add in some really nice filters around contains. So if the review contains, for example, we want ones that are maybe, for example, awesome. And we'll only bring in the ones that say the word awesome. So it's really, really highlighting the positive reviews. However, for example, some things that you may not want to include. So, for example, I'm trying to think of an example that might work for some of the people here right now. For example, broke, for example, maybe. So we'll use that word and maybe other words as well. For example, with medical companies, they may not be able to say the word cure, for example, or anything like that. So it's a really, really nice way to refine and also stay within the sort of rules of what you're allowed to say and what you're not allowed to say. So really, really nice examples there. Anything to add on that one, Daisy? I know that you've done a lot more stuff with different people as well involved in this stuff.
Yeah, there's one more thing that's worth mentioning. If you go to the data sources tab, so depending on your setup with your review provider, you might have a mixture or one or the other of product or service reviews. So products being this particular product and its functionality, that sort of thing. But you might also have reviews about you as a brand, so we can actually access both types, and you might use them in different circumstances. So reviews about you as a service, for example, are really great for those abandonment emails or a homepage, or just some dynamic content on your BAU emails, even just to keep that nice and up to date. Whereas product level reviews are obviously more relevant to when someone's examining a particular product. The other thing you can do, if you go to the filtering tab, is that we can limit by rating as well. And then there's another option. If you go to data source as well and just put it back to product reviews, there we go. Then if we go to filtering, you can actually filter down to particular products as well. So let's say you've got a new product launch coming out and you want to talk about a particular brand. You can start picking up reviews of similar products. Everyone loves version 3, but get ready for version 4 kind of thing. So it really depends on what your particular contact's about, if it's an email or whether you've got a campaign launch or what it is that reviews would help you with. But yeah, there's plenty of options. You can also exclude certain products. So if you've got a particular product giving you a bad rep, then you can always remove reviews from those products as well. So what you can see here is we can start getting quite dynamic in terms of what we show, where we're slightly different to what you might get with Trustpilot or a reviews provider's baked in functionality, is that I think we only surface 20 reviews. So you wouldn't want to replace what you've got on a product page, for example, with this mechanism. But if you want to enhance the journey otherwise, then it's a really good strategy.
Nice, yeah. Really, really cool stuff though. And for me, definitely when I'm online, I'm always now looking at reviews, especially with some bigger purchases, wanting to know what other people think of the product and seeing exactly what's being said about it. So really, really useful stuff. And it's always nice to know that a brand is going to be reliable in how they get a product out to me. So making sure that these reviews are on there, really, really useful to have. Are there any other burning questions that anyone has while we're here? No? Anything else anyone wants to cover on sort of ratings, reviews? Anyone want to cover anything else on social proof? Anything like that?
I guess there's last thing for me, just in terms of the social proof. I know what we've looked at today is very much showing numbers of people that have purchase, carted, browse, but that's not what it has to be. We can do things like showcasing bestsellers, so using the same tech underneath, but actually what we show to customers. So maybe we only put social proof on products that have been purchased at least 50 times a day, but maybe that's your threshold to put a bestseller tag on it, rather than it being sort of X purchase today. So a really nice example on Etsy as well that said how many 5-star ratings that product had in the last week. So there's lots of different things we can do. So if you've got any ideas, then do reach out to either us or your account manager, and we can look into whether it's something we can help you set up either yourself or through sort of services. I guess just one last thing for Michael. I know you said you're a web dev. So just so you know, we've recently provided access to the code in this template. So Will was beautifully demonstrating, there's a little button here, which is sort of your code snippet. And then everything's completely open source in Fresh. So you can edit this to your heart's content. And this is the same with all of our content. So yeah, hopefully that looks good to you.
Okay, that is great.
Well, are there any questions for anyone? Feel free to reach out to us. But if there aren't, then I think we can sort of wrap it up and start to go ahead and implement some of the ideas today. This question for everyone is sort of: is there anything in particular you want to sort of go ahead and do after the session?
I'm probably going to immediately go put all of the social proof on a product email I've got going out tomorrow. So
Awesome.
It should be a really quick win. It should just be turning it on, even in the old flow. It might just be worth showing that actually,
Yeah.
Will, in case Laura's using the old editor.
Yeah, and it's fine. The smart block was got. It's using the old flow.
It's an extra option you have to tick in that one that you don't in the new.
That one looks like the old flow. So it'll be on the options tab just here. And then we have the load social proof data just here. So it'll be toggling it off or toggling it on. So if you toggle it on, then we will show all of the social proof data, as you can see in that preview here. And then it will be a case of going into the HTML to edit it and change back the thresholds and the messaging. But if that's something that you want to do, feel free to reach out to support, or you can reach out to us and we can sort of have a look at that one for you.
perfect. Thank you.
It's all good. Anything else from anyone? Sort of anything that anyone's sort of dying to sort of get underway and get sort of using in social proof? Cool. Well then, I think that's everything we wanted to cover today. So we're going to just go ahead and sort of send around an email, hopefully by the end of today. If not, it'll be there tomorrow for you. And then also I'll get that new starter course sent around to everyone that wanted it. If you do also want it, feel free to send me an email and I can get it all sent out to you. But if there's nothing else, then thanks everyone for joining. I hope you have a great rest of your day.